All right. Good morning, everybody. My name is Jonathan Tripp. I want to welcome you to our show today. Wherever you are, whatever time you're watching this, whether you're watching this live, which we do this show live Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, or if you watch us on the replay, I want to say thank you so much. Today's topic, this was kind of a cool thing. I liked it. I thought it was kind of fun. But we're going to be talking about mobile live streaming, maybe a little bit of what it was, maybe a little bit, and definitely where we think it's going to go. And today, I'm very fortunate. I have a guest on today, Nazim Beltran. And you know what, Nazim? I know you're 6 hours ahead. You're in Italy, probably another really great place that's on my place in the world to go to. But thank you for joining us this morning. How are you doing?
A pleasure. Thanks a lot for inviting me. When you invited me a while back, I said I'd love to be on the show.
Right.
I'm doing great in Milan, Italy. For those that some people might have met me already through Blab or through other platforms, and I am the better half. No, I'm the worst half of Casa Chiesi. I don't want to get in trouble by saying that.
And I gotta say that is actually that when I first started to meet you online, it was actually really interesting because I was like, I don't know who this is. Like the name didn't sync up and with the with the screen name, and I'm like, now I just it's Nazim. And I've never met your better half online, but it really doesn't matter because you know what? I can actually watch your snaps, and I feel like I get to know you that way. So
That's true.
But so how are you? How was your weekend? Because this
Weekend
this
was
weekend
great.
was a good.
We went down to the coast.
Yeah.
We relaxed a little bit there. We live in Milan, so we're relatively close to the Ligurian coast,
Mm-hmm.
about 2 hours away, and we're also close to the mountains and also close to Venice. So what we have is an ideal situation for enjoying Italy. I've been here since 1992. For those that don't know, I married an Italian. I left Miami. I'm an American living in Italy. And it's great. I mean, it's a great country. I love it.
Right. And how many did you say? How many years have you actually been living in Italy now?
I arrived here in 1992. Next year is going to be 20, yeah, almost 26, I think. Like
Oh
92.
wow,
Yeah,
nice.
yeah. Yeah, it's
So so what was it? Was it your wife that brought you to Italy, or
it
did
was
she keep you in Italy?
no, it was basically we met in Miami. She's a makeup artist, and she was there for a job and also for a wedding of a common friend of ours. That I did not know her at the time. The common friend is, oh, you got to meet this girl. You got to meet this girl. You're gonna love her. You're gonna love her. I'm like, yeah, I hate matchmaking. I just hate matchmaking.
Yeah.
I went to the party, walked in, saw her, and I was head over heels. So,
Isn't that a
and then
great way to
yeah,
be?
it's a great way. And then she tried to live in Miami for about 2 years. It was just extremely hot, and her line of business is always Paris, London, Milan.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I said, well, I'm willing to move to Italy.
Okay.
Yeah,
And that's what keeps you going, keeps you
yeah,
coming back.
yeah,
That's
exactly.
really great because I will say this. I don't know of one live stream, one show, one room I think I've been in where I haven't heard you encourage somebody to come on over to Italy
Oh yeah,
and visit.
I invite
So
over.
it
I
just
constantly invite people
oh
over. In
yeah.
fact, Mia Voss, who Eileen is, I see her. She's on the side
Hmm.
here. She knows. We know we met for Google Plus because that's where we all started. My online adventure was at Google Hangouts and
Hmm.
Google Plus, and I made friends over there. And I invited Mia Voss came to visit us for her
Nice.
birthday, 50th birthday. She was in Italy, and I keep inviting people over, and people have come over. I think there are a couple. Suzanne Sierra, also from Google Plus, has come to visit. And
Okay.
whoever drops by Milan, just ping me. I'll be more than happy to take you out, have a glass of wine, show you around.
So now I know where you are. You're in Italy, and I know you've been there for a few years. So what are the different things that you do? Tell us a little bit about yourself. What is it that you do
What do I
in
do?
when you're not like on my show, right?
There you go. Now, I arrived here in 1992. I'm an architect and with a background in CAD management, CAD train, and CAD animation. I left the studio in Miami, and when I arrived here, I did a couple of interviews. Everybody's like, "Wow, great, but we're just starting with computers. It's not a big thing here." And I was a little bit disappointed. So I was on the verge of returning back to Miami because my former employer said, like, you can always come here if the situation doesn't work out in Italy. And at the last minute, I got hired by an architect who designs cruise ships. So I am an architect who has been involved with a company designing cruise ships for the last 23 years. And then in 1995, I decided to become a consultant for them and dedicate half of the week to building a web business. And our first client, web-wise, in Milan was Versace. So started doing major sites and for fashion and design companies. And that's what Park Media is, which is where I'm talking from today, is my office in Milan. And now we're starting to go towards the area of beacons and apps and the Internet of Things and all that fun world.
That's really interesting.
While Casa Chiesi, let me just intercede for this. Casa Chiesi is not a bakery. It's not a restaurant. It's basically me and my wife's Italian lifestyle blog where we talk about our love for it.
Okay, that was what I was going to ask. I was going to ask, where does the name come from? And say it one more time so I can actually really try to practice and pronounce it.
Yeah, it's my wife's last name, so that's why. Yeah, but I think logo-wise, we're thinking of doing a little revamping on the logo because people keep thinking it's a bed and breakfast, which is great. I mean, my house can be a bed and breakfast.
Right.
You can come over without even having to. We won't charge you.
Right.
So yeah.
Okay. So, I kind of getting back a little bit to the, to the web design, and particularly, in today's show, we're going to talk about like mobile live streaming.
Right.
And I try to come up with at least somewhat of an interesting title. And today's title, it really is. It's why should you mobile live stream? And I think addressing that question first addresses then a lot of the issues that we kind of get into, and we'll get into them. Whether it's where do you live stream? Do you live stream just from your mobile, or do you view from your mobile? I mean, there's lots of different questions that I want to ask, and I want to hear what you have to say, because you do something that's a little bit different than what I would ever even dream of doing because it's on the design, it's on the actual making side of it. And I do a lot more on like the consulting side and the utilizing a tool that either is emerging or has, it's established tool. So I want to kind of get some of your take on that. But so just to answer the first question right out of the gate, why should we use mobile live stream?
That's a great question. I'm going to go a little bit back to start answering that. When we started Casa Chiesi over at Google Plus, and Eileen, who's in the room, and a couple of other people might have seen it, we started doing a lot of interviewing people in Italy, going to locations and doing fixed. But then we decided that apart from doing the fixed ones, which are quite interesting because you can bring people in from around the world in windows and talk about Italy, talk about their experience in Italy, we decided let's go out and do some mobile stuff because there's nothing better than doing a show and tell. And for us, the live streaming glitch was fundamental because we live in a fantastic location. I mean, as much as I don't want to sound bad about it, but if you live in the middle of Florida, Titusville or somewhere, yeah, you can go to Cape Kennedy and show, something live. But if you're in a certain location, it might not be that useful or that advantageous for you to do live streaming from a location. But since we have the Italian backdrop, I mean, for us, that's one of the things that hinted us towards doing live streaming. And even back in Google Plus, we did the first one we did one on top of the Duomo, which was really a lot of fun. And a couple of people in Google Plus, Chef Dennis, who most people know, helped us out on that one. And right there, we got the bug because my wife said, she said, I don't like sitting and doing a one-to-one. I like moving around and showing people. Obviously, that creates a whole series of complications. And at the time when we were in Google Plus, we met Ron Binzer, who also some people from Google Plus know, and he's a Hangout expert. So I took a course with him, and we hired him to give us some consultant and told him basically, this is what we want to do, but we want to do mobile. So mobile is a whole different little, the way you deal with mobile is a little bit different than when you deal with jacked in Ethernet control locations from, and we can talk about that in a couple of minutes also.
Oh, okay.
But that's the direction was because of the fact that we wanted to go around and show people sites in Italy.
So being able to have that mobility, the being able to take your desktop basically on the road, but obviously it's not a desktop, and you can't sit there with your laptop. I've seen people do that, and that's a little awkward.
That is awkward.
Then I saw, and this was actually this is borderline acceptable now, right? Where you can take your iPad with you, and but I see people, and I saw a video this weekend. On somebody was taking it in Disney World or Disneyland or something like that, and they had this one guy. He was holding up his iPad, and compared to everybody else who's just holding up their little phone, he had like both of his hands up. And this guy was like, his comment was like, "Are you serious? Like, you're seriously holding up your iPad?" And I got to thinking, I was like, but that's how we're using some of these technologies. They're lighter, they are more. It's where the iPad was acceptable. Now maybe is it not?
Well, when we started back on Google Plus with Hangouts on Air, we were using specifically the Padcaster, which is a unit in which you put the iPad onto, and a tripod. Yeah. So I was like placing that, but it was not that great because you're moving around locations, and then after that, the stick, and it's precisely on the one on the Duomo. I was at the top of the Duomo, and I looked at this Japanese girl come by with the stick thing, and it was one of the first selfie sticks I saw, and I came up to her and said, "What is that?" And she said to me, "It's for recording." So I said, "We need to get that." And then that's when we went from iPad to iPhone, and then that really facilitates the fact that but then you got to deal with microphone issues. Mm-hmm. So we do, within that whole thing of dealing with two, because our broadcasts are two people.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
It's not just me going ahead; it's me and Betty together. So we had to do an issue where we have clip-on wireless, and we can pretty much do it. And we use the road that kind of cuts down. And then another thing that's fundamental for those who want to is a hell of a battery pack behind you. Not the little ones. This one charges up to 4 iPhones 4 times.
Okay, yeah.
So we avoid the problem of drainage when we're going around because sometimes if you're doing long casts, which I don't highly recommend going to past a certain amount of minutes, because people's attention span is relatively short.
Right.
It can be a problem. It's good to have one of these. So that's what we use for the mobile. But we got really good with mobile, and then my wife loves it because then after that she's like, she just loves going to locations, and from Google Hangouts we jumped to Periscope.
Oh, okay.
Now let's talk about the platforms. Sure. And Periscope, we were getting a good. It was good. It was good. We were getting a lot of trolls, so tons of trolls. And my wife it was very funny because they would come in and they would like say nasty things to my wife in the middle of a thing, and she would go like, "Why are you saying that to me?" And I'm like, "I'll take care of it."
Right. They're doing it just that's why they're doing it, and you fed right into it. And just a real quick question, and I know this is not a commercial or an endorsement, but what was that the battery charger? What was that extra battery charger you had?
It's a Ray Power.
Okay, perfect.
It might be backwards.
Great.
The wrap it's fantastic. I'll put in the link if you want.
Okay, yeah, if you don't mind dropping it in the chat. And by the way, I do want to say thank you everybody that is watching us, whether you watch us on Facebook or YouTube Live, or if you're watching us live in Huzzah. I really appreciate it. I love actually seeing everybody over there. You guys are watching the chat. We're going to be taking questions from the chat as we go along, and that's kind of the benefit of watching the show live and where we're actually broadcasting it. So, but if you haven't yet, please feel free. You guys can join our Facebook community, and that's just the easiest, super easy way to get there is just group.jonathantripp.com. And we did just start a Google Plus community, and just search for Jonathan Tripp Live, and it will come up. And you guys, because to my knowledge, that's the only one that's out there. But it is a new community, and I'm going to be kind of shaping that this week as we kind of come along. So, because not everybody is into Facebook. So we wanted to open up the community to Google Plus, and
that is a very good point that you bring out. That there's a lot of people specific on this platform. They love that platform, and they love that platform. I tend to embrace just about as many platforms as possible. I have my favorites and I have my least favorites, but I kind of like them all, to tell you the truth.
Right. And I was just going to quick ask Terry. Terry is like my resident G plus for the win girl. She's also the admin in the Facebook group, so don't let it confuse you too much. But Terry, would you do us a favor? Would you just drop the Google Plus community link in the chat? I'd really appreciate that. And and it's kind of funny you say that. You try to embrace as many as you can, and I'd really like if could you describe that a little bit more? What you mean by that? Because I think lots of different people really could take that in a variety of ways. But so I understand. What do you mean by saying, oh, you try to embrace as many as you can?
I think the more instruments we have, and this applies both for live streaming and also in social media, the better off we are. I mean, as you explore, I'm not a social media expert. We build websites, but we do not do social media consulting for clients because the expectations are very high on that. So we work with other teams of consultants. But in the personal case of myself and Kaza Kiezi, my wife and mine, our venture, inside Google Plus, I got to meet some really fantastic people, and it was a lot of the engagement factor, but also the fact that it's connected to search. Those things are super important, but I don't get obsessed with that world. I get more obsessed in the sense of expressing a message, expressing a love, because basically what me and my wife do is love for Italy, and that's what Casa Chiesi is all about. And engaging with the most people possible, and yes, the numbers are important, the links are important, and how to get to their website, how to get to their email list. But when I came from Google Plus to Blab, and everybody's like, oh, well, Blab is going to kill Google Plus. Google Plus, I was saying, like, guys, yeah, look where Blab is now. It's 10 times more quirkier than Google Plus was for some people. So I just think, and in Blab, I love Blab because I've met a lot of great people. I met Jonathan in here. I met a lot of people on site. Mm-hmm. And, all these instruments are free, and also some you pay for certain parts of them. And that's all great and good, but you got to apply them to what sort of show you want to do, what sort of business you want to run, what sort of hobby you want to run. Because at the end of the day, Casa Chiesi, everybody asks you, well, right now we're on the stage of building content and having fun. And my wife said, the day I don't have any more fun with this, we'll mutate it to something else. And I also think that when you do something with love, the business aspects kind of follow down the road. And since Jonathan, that's not my core business. I mean, it's my wife's not core business. It's something that we do with our extra time. And she mentioned something on another interview we had last week where she says, as we get older, it's something that's very uniting the couple towards a passion, so that when we get older, we have something more fun to do, which is teach people about Italy from the point of view of a couple that live in the country, an American and an Italian.
Yeah, and I have to tell you, I'm pretty excited about where I see what you're doing, and not just from like, oh, just travel the country and just talk about the things that you like, and I mean those are great. Those are the things that for you I think are going to keep you going, keep you doing it. But I think your perspective and your experience and the things that you've done, and now the way that you're starting to use some of these platforms are what's going to keep people coming back to it. Yeah. And it's not just you behind your desk. It's not you cutting videos, going out to a location, shooting a couple of videos, coming back, cutting it and adding it in, and then making. I mean, there's some really nice YouTube videos out there, and not just YouTube, but now Facebook, et cetera, et cetera. But making a nice video of you talking about it, but there is just something different about when you're on location talking to people while you're on location. Yeah, sometimes there's a little bit of wind coming across the microphone. Sometimes there's that. Sometimes there's a car or some kind of a dog barking in the background, right? You have those things, and as long as they're not so overlapping that you actually can't hear, I think there's something really unique. I think there's something it's irreplaceable. It's that intangible aspect. That's what makes live stream, I think, right now so great. You know what I mean?
I totally agree with you, because when we were starting to do these about 2 years ago, my video friends, people that do professional videos, they were looking at them and going like, dude, the quality is horrible. I mean, and I go, it's the content, it's the experience you're providing. yes, the quality is super important, but you're not going to get that in live streaming until at least the bandwidth gets, where it's got to be, or that's another tip for people that do live streaming. Always check before, if you're going to do a specific location, go on site and check the type of mobile connection you're going to have at that location. And that is one of the limiting factors on our show, is that we can do a lot of locations because we have 4G, but in some situations that I'm dying to do a show from that location, from a monastery down on the Ligurian, on the coast in the Ligurian Italian Riviera, I can't do it because there's no connection whatsoever.
Yeah. So it's really kind of goes out, go out, test your equipment.
Yeah.
I mean, which is not revolutionary idea, but we just kind of make some assumptions, and I don't know what the reception is like in Italy. The not the Wi-Fi, but the broadband. I don't know what the reception is like compared to, a good majority of America. I mean, I don't know the difference because I haven't gone there. You'd probably be a better guess, but it really just goes to the whole point of, you need to go out and test, especially if that's the point of your show. If that's the point of your broadcast, is to broadcast from a place, you better make sure you can actually broadcast before you say, hey, I'm going to broadcast from there.
2.5 months ago, we got, there's now an organization that's it's starting to grow quite a lot. It's called the Italian Live Streamers. And they contacted us because they had seen us on Periscope and said, we want you guys to come in and join us. So we did a marathon with them. And now we're part of their consortium. And we're doing a little show called Casa Chiesi's Secret Milan, which we do every 15 days, where we do a highlighted secret about the city that not too many people know about. And on that one, it's become much more of we have to do a storyboard. My wife's like, we got to write a story and we got to go out and check. So it's becoming quite a lot of work in the sense that you need to get kind of like, not flawless, but to get really a great show, you got to go out and practice. You got to go and do she talks, I talk, then we do a little Italian, then we jump back and forth. And there's a storyboard behind that. So we prepare that in the sense of kind of like a little show. And they usually last 10 minutes, which is great. But I think also in that same time, we do the check of the mobile. We do the check of also, for example, the first episode that we did, we arrived on location. There was a huge concert behind that was not expected. It was like a group. So we had to shift everything over. And so there's those improvisations, which I think are quite interesting and challenging about live streaming. I want to say hello to a couple of people. I see Angel's here too.
Yep, yeah. Angel's here. David Vaughn just popped in. Annie Alexander. She just had a great weekend.
Where's the wine?
Right. I keep hearing that.
It's 4:30.
So, okay. So we've talked a little bit about about some of these, some of these aspects of just the where some of the technique and things like this. But one of the big things I actually wanted to talk about today was a little bit of platform, but specifically about the mobile side of it. And just in kind of prepping for this show, and I'm not going to hold up my phone, but on my mobile, and I did it from the mobile for a particular reason. I searched just the 3 simple words: mobile live streaming. And once I did that, and I clicked on the app section, because Google gives you the regular search and where you can find blog articles about that stuff. Right, I wanted to know actually about the app, and I have yet to actually hit the bottom of the, and I'm kind of looking at my phone right now, of all the suggested apps and things, and there's some of the bigger names, like Livestream, Ustream, and then we start to get into some of these other words that maybe are not quite as popular. And because when we think of mobile live streaming, we have to keep in mind that it's being used on 2 fronts. It's being used on the broadcasting side, so that like a Periscope style. So you're out, and what you guys do, you go out to a location and you broadcast. Okay.
Yes.
The other side of mobile live streaming, it's on the receiver end. It's on the watcher, the audience side, maybe. And so like in this instance, this is a desktop. I'm doing this on my desktop, is producing it and sharing it out on all these kinds of things, right? But what is happening is that I'm producing this on a desktop platform, but it's being watched on mobile. And that is the big key. That's the way we need to make sure that it's less of, well, where am I producing this? And I actually think it needs to be more of a question of, where are they watching it? And that's where a lot of these mobile apps, these mobile live video streaming apps, are coming in. I mean, and there are a lot of apps And I'm not joking. Besides, we're not even talking about Periscope. I'm just going down. It's Major League Baseball. There's CNN,
Yeah.
NASCAR, football. I mean, those are just the sports ones. And then
Right.
you've got like really specific ones. And I'm just kind of going down through. They're not all U.S. based.
No, you're right. You're right. It's incredible.
This is not.
There's a landslide of apps and platforms to work with. Ones that are classic, like you're saying, Ustream, that we know from way back, and also, for example, Busker is another one that everybody's jumping on and getting good interaction with. I personally think for what we are doing as Kazakizi, but that's just our specific example, and I think everybody will find their specific medium, and depending on what they need to do. I really think that Facebook and eventually YouTube Connect, or whatever the hell it's going to be called, is going to be there. I tend to believe that they're the first on social media. I mean, Facebook, the ones that they're the king of the crop, and maybe that can change down the road. But that's where all the eyeballs are. You might not like it. You might not, you might think, okay, well, that's a diversified type of audience. But I think at the end, that down the road, they're really going to be one of the big key players. Everybody is talking about Amazon coming into the force at the same time. I think that's going to be interesting to look at. Another risk factor is that, for example, if you invest a lot of your energy and time on just one specific platform because you think that's the one, and there's some of these new ones, you don't know the sort of backing they have as a startup behind them. So you're putting all this energy into Busker maybe, and down the road, a year from now, Busker's not there anymore, or maybe it is. So I tend to think that for what we're doing, which is the way we want to do it, and the way we're getting the sort of reaction, Facebook for us is the best at the moment. In fact, we're dropping a little bit Periscope, to tell you the truth.
I think that's really. I think it's really an interesting point, because hasn't the traditional, or I shouldn't even say traditional, listen, it hasn't been that long, but the conventional wisdom of social media, it's go where your audience is and things like this. But what if your audience is literally jumping from platform to platform? You really run into some problems. You really run into some big problems.
You start going around the OK Corral around.
And how can you, and I can't imagine trying to advise somebody, well, just follow them wherever they go. Follow. Oh, they're on Busker this time. They're on.
That does not seem to be. I think you have to go where you feel comfortable. And then you have to gauge the numbers. If the numbers are not last summer we had the Milan Expo here, and we did 2 shows on Blab, me and my wife, and it was a nightmare to do Blab mobile.
Yeah,
it was really hard. But people were like, "Wow, this is cool." People were watching in the window, and then we were at the, but it's that platform was not. And in fact, later on, I found out talking to people inside Blab that it's not meant to be a broadcast-specific platform.
I'm finding now, because of how quickly a lot of these live streaming platforms, I'm just going to use that in the broader sense, because it's not just an app that is broadcasting. Like this show, we're able to do this from a platform, but you're able to watch it on an app, on a live streaming, on a mobile experience, whether it's a tablet or a phone or whatever the case is. What I'm finding is that because of how many of them are coming up, and you kind of alluded to this, you can't put yourself just solely on one platform and hope and pray and expect it to be there in 6 months, a year. But then at the same time, then don't maybe you want to swing to the other side of the of the pendulum and I'm only going to play with the big dogs like Facebook and YouTube and things like that. And again, I don't think that would serve your audience well either, by saying, I'm only going to do those where I can advertise and where I know that I can. I don't think that's the answer either. I think you can do both now and still cultivate a listening and a watching community. I think that you can. It takes a little bit extra effort. It's not just sitting there on Facebook and just typing in replies. I think it does take a little bit more of technology. It takes a little bit more of learning how to manage different chats and to integrate communities. Honestly, that's one of the reasons why we said, oh, Facebook and Google Plus. There just happen to be
Right.
two big ones, but I know those community sites really work.
Right.
And a lot of
Because
people connect,
we've
and that's
had the
the point.
experience of being inside those
Yep.
communities for a long time and realizing it.
Mm-hmm.
I think another interesting thing that is a very interesting point. I see Angel. She says that she's. I've also gone through all these platforms, and we're all on all these platforms that
Mm-hmm.
Angel mentions. I think what's interesting and what makes it quite valuable is what you're doing, Jonathan, in the sense that you are on a wired platform and you're feeding out to different ones.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is an ideal situation because you're dealing with different public, you're expanding the range of potential listeners.
Right.
With mobile, there's not a solution to that yet. When you're with mobile, you're stuck to the mobile app that you're going to be using, be it Periscope, be it Facebook Live, or whatever else. So you're much more limited. You have a much broader sense in live streaming of the sort of shows, broadcasting interview shows like this one, in that you guys, I think, have more vehicles to deal with,
Yeah,
and more tools to deal with.
and I saw Sandra's comment. She had and she had mentioned before, and I wasn't trying to ignore her. Bringing up the idea of this web app, which is called Liveleap. And I have read a little bit about it. And Sandra, what he's saying is that what Nazim is talking about is it's being able to do one broadcast and put it out onto several platforms. What Liveleap does, it allows you to put your, if I'm not mistaken, it allows you to put your live stream onto several onto different parts of your Facebook, so you can be in group on your profile and on your business or business
I
pages.
saw that. I got the I got the advertising for it, and I saw the way
Which
that
is
they work.
that's a good thing. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying
No.
that's what it does. It doesn't it doesn't actually live stream to LinkedIn. It doesn't live stream.
Yeah, it doesn't live stream to the other ones that can live stream.
It
Yeah.
links it out. I think it shares it out and allows. And so again, understanding. I think that's one of the differences is how are people going to watch it? And that's really the question I want to ask. How are people watching it on their mobile? Do they want to watch it only in Facebook? Do they only want to watch it live on YouTube? Do they, is it Periscope? Anything outside of Periscope, I don't care. Do we really have audiences that watch that way now?
I don't. That's a very great question, Jonathan. I totally agree with you. I was reading an article this last weekend from it was not Zuckerberg over at Facebook. It was the other guy, one of the partners, and they were presenting on Friday, and he was saying, I think they were presenting in London. He was saying that we are expecting that 5 years from now, on Facebook, it will only be video, and the text and the reaction of people on text will be non-existent. I found that a little bit too far-fetched, to tell you the truth. Because at the same time, I don't think everybody's comfortable with being live or doing video. If you look at most of the people, we do it from our page. We never do it on our personal. I have once in a while I see people doing from their personal page, but it's kind of like, okay, when in the case of ourselves with Kazakezi, we do it from the brand page. So that's where we're doing it from. And also at the same time, I think there's another thing that's quite important, and this is my personal opinion. We're doing specific shows on a bi-weekly, and then we do like a little thing. I think if you start bombarding people with live streaming on Facebook all the time, it's going to come to a point where you're like, okay, enough of this.
I agree, and I think outside of, I say that doing a 5-day, I do this 5 days a week, and so I'm really careful.
But you have a specific time frame for your show at 4 o'clock, and that's it. Or
at 4 o'clock your time, 10 a.m. our time.
Yeah, right.
And then it just kind of goes back. I think by the West Coast now, California time, it's like 7 a.m. So Arizona and all them. That's pretty early. Yeah. For a lot of people, for a lot of viewers, they're busy or right in the middle of their morning routine. But the whole idea got to be, then they can just put the show on in the background. They can listen. And I do know people that are watching that, and that's how they're. And I listen to some broadcasts that way. Well, like when I'm working or like I'm replying to emails, I'll have a show on another tab and I'll have it playing through, so I'm listening. And I think that's another aspect of this, that it's not just people sitting there fully frontally engaged. I'm looking at everything that's coming up in the chat, and I'm looking at it's not that kind of TV, if I can use that word. It's I'm engaging, I'm listening, and when something comes up, then they want the option to be able to throw a question in, or to be able to, comment, or maybe connect with, maybe it's not even the guest or the host. Sometimes it's, hey, I want to say, oh, I see so and so in the chat. I'm seeing that to be a big transition away from what we think of traditionally as television or
Yes.
movies or things like that. They want the interaction. And I think the platform that gives them the best options will be the winner in the long run. And that may be, and I hate to say this, I can't believe I'm saying this, I think that might be why Facebook might actually be the best one out there, even though I'm fully rooting, guys, and you know it, I'm rooting for YouTube.
Of course.
I want YouTube to win. I want them to be the winners.
I agree
But
with you a little bit on that. I mean, it's not like I'm sitting here going like, yeah, Facebook is a panacea of the world.
Yeah.
No, I think it's interesting. YouTube being connected with Google and the search. What we were talking about in the green room is the searchability, SEO aspects of YouTube and Google together. Something that Facebook still does not have, I think, from what I understand. I'm not the expert on SEO.
Right, and I mean, we have the different aspects of what Facebook already socially connects you. That there's you. I don't know of another platform that's on such a large scale, with some actually pretty meaty metrics and other things behind analytics that actually get you more in contact with either a personally engaged audience or a potentially engaged audience, okay?
Right.
Because there's a lot of people out there that don't know what else is going on Facebook. And I want to address this in this way because, while I'm on Facebook, very, very, very rarely do I put the live stream version of this on my personal profile.
No, exactly.
I put it on my business page. That's super important because that's part of the business side of what we do. But not all my friends want to see this show. Now, I mean, maybe they should be seeing this show because, Nazim, you're here. But I don't think that they want to see every single show that I'm on and, that I produce. I don't think, because they're connected socially, not necessarily business-wise.
That's a good point. That's a very good point. And that's the thin line of understanding the sort of platform that we're dealing with and how they can be used.
Yeah, I'm really concerned with and I think Brian Fanzo actually mentioned something like this, right? When Facebook Live came out, we were all worried, and I was one of them. Now I really don't want to see my Facebook feed fill up with just Periscope style broadcasts of poor quality. The audio's horrible. I don't know what they're talking about, and it's just bumbling all over the place. And thankfully, I haven't seen it. And I don't know, is that just because people haven't? They're afraid to do it, or maybe they just don't know how to do it, or anything like this. But now we're starting to see some of the other technologies come out, like the 360 cameras.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
And I think those are kind of cool, but I think they're more of a novelty. Because I don't experience the way...
That's a very good point you bring up, because we are working with a couple of clients that are pushing us. We're working with VR, and VR, I think, is the new baby to the table. I think there's a lot of wow factor behind it, and I just don't know, in the sense that I find it quite interesting to see a 360. I was looking at the one in Orlando on Facebook with everybody with the candles. Mm-hmm. That was pretty touching and all. But once the utility of really showing a 360 of a necessary, I don't know, sometimes it might not be as useful as we think it is.
Right. And again, to me, it's like getting an email every single day.
Yeah, Alex brings up on the side, what is a good goal of just having 360 for 360's sake? Totally correct.
I think it's just, like I said, I feel like it's more of a novelty.
Yes.
I mean, it was kind of cool. We've all seen them where, like, the Jungle Book put out an ad where you can sit in the movie, a scene in the movie, and you can see certain actors and things like that kind of come out, and you choose what you want to see. The same thing happened when the Star Wars Episode 7 was coming out, and that you could sit on go through one of the scenes and they're novelty things. But I don't think that I would want that in everyday life. I mean, it might be, and I'll say it like this. This is for me. It might be kind of cool to do that walking through my garden.
Right.
You guys get to choose.
Or on top of a hill overlooking the Italian countryside.
But honestly, you don't want to see that as I'm walking around my kitchen, You don't want to see it as I'm mowing my lawn, as I'm getting my email, as I'm walking my dog. And I don't think that's really but I mean, I don't really see many applications on a scalable side that make 360 that relevant. And so, but I mean, I'm thinking no more on the mobile side. It seems very like a one-off. Like it's very that's kind of neat, but then that's it. I'm done with it. But Samsung's doubling down on it.
I'm going to bring up a real quick example talking about 360 specifically. We did a project for the furniture fair that was in April, and it was for a client of ours, basically, in which they were at two locations. So one location was where they had their stand with all their furniture and everything, and then they had another satellite location, which was a little bit outside of the city. So what they did is they knew that they could not shuttle the people back and forth. So at the location, when people were coming by, they would give them the cardboard, the Google Cardboard, which I have one copy of somewhere over here. And you were able to visit that location without having to go there and physically see the objects on that. And I found quite interesting as a project. But it was very specifically thought out to not have to deal with the shuttling back and forth of people between two locations.
Right.
But that's going a little bit off the top.
I'm just kind of thinking in terms of like, I again, it's how people are. It's how the audience is viewing it, and I think that more than anything else, less than what mobile device are you streaming on? Are you 360? Are you giving like a 360
those
thing?
are the technical aspect. There's people that go down the technical rabbit hole.
It is less that. It is more about, Nazim, how is the audience receiving? How are they watching this? That is the real question, because you can stream all day long and nobody watches it.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to ask the question, how valuable is what you just
the content
streamed?
that you're providing? That's a very good point.
And that's why I think, and Q actually asked the question, and she says, was it live streaming or 360? What do you think is going to prevail? I think it's going to be live streaming. No extra equipment. If you can do it from your phone or from your, from a mobile device or even from an iPad. That kind of tablet size. If you can stream, you can do it right from there. I think that's going to be it. Now, having said that, I want to talk about Snapchat.
I want to
talk about Snapchat. That is an augmented, I believe, right? That fits into augmented reality with the face, with the face filters and things like that. I actually wonder if that's going to be a development for Snapchat. That's how they're going to be able to open up that platform to experience different things. Somebody says hologram. David says hologram.
There's his holograms. Yeah, we're almost there, David.
This is not Star Wars.
MIT about that.
But do you see what I'm saying?
I think I see what you're saying. I think Snapchat is a very interesting engagement tool. The thing I don't see about Snapchat is that, and this is my criticism, is that when you have a whole series of people in there that you love and adore, because most of the people that I have in my Snapchat, I tend to watch constantly as much. You want to give them as much love as possible, where it comes to a point that you cannot watch everybody's Snapchat. So that in the business formula, because if you go to Discover, then Discover is a little bit different, because there you see, and also with the latest upgrade, you see specific advertising spots. So everybody's watching that. I don't know how many of the people on the right side that are in this chat using Snapchat go to watch a Discover. I watch a couple, but I don't watch them every day. So as a business model, Snapchat is growing like wildfire. Mm-hmm. And but down the road, I just don't see it becoming the big,
Again, I don't want to say that like this is Snapchat's the Facebook replacement, or it's going to make all of everything else obsolete. I think Snapchat does a couple of things really well, and they do them really well. And so once we kind of understand what Snapchat does and what it doesn't do, Snapchat strips away a lot of things that I thought were boundary or hindrances to producing a short form story, because most people at the time, they're not thinking in terms of they're not thinking in terms of well, how do we perform how do we edit a movie together. Well, this, Snapchat put it together so that you have 10-second clips, or up to a 10-second clip.
Right, right.
How cool was that? I mean, really think about what app did we have that allowed you to do that and put it into that way so easily. And because it was so siloed, there wasn't a lot of, you can't share out to Twitter or Facebook or anything. It was so manual. It kept Snapchat its own thing. And so you have a really captivated audience. It's a smaller audience for the most part. I mean, it's starting to engage now, but it's a smaller audience.
It's a smaller audience.
Yeah. I mean, you couldn't add, drive traffic to it. It's not like you can advertise, and people are finding ways around it. They are changing that now, though. Ads are starting to roll out in people's stories.
Yeah.
So that's a game changer for that platform.
They're adding in the formula on how they're going to monetize it relatively fast.
And good. I mean, I'll say as a business, good for them. Good for them.
People might hate that. Some people might hate that and say, "Okay, here we go." But you got to remember, all these platforms have a business plan in place and a specific either data collection or being bought out or ad revenue or whatever. But Blab is the only one that didn't have that.
Yeah, no, they didn't. They still don't. And I mean, without getting into that,
no,
right? Without getting into that. But I mean, I guess I look at it now as just saying, okay, so we have this mobile platform, and I would love to see it, have like that little sneak peek, almost like Back to the Future, but looking into the future. Where would we see that going? Because it is exclusively mobile. And when I talk about live streaming, I put Snapchat into that live stream because it feels so now, even though it's up to 24 hours.
No, you're right. And another thing I find quite interesting that Snapchat is kind of like an indirect competitor to WhatsApp, in the sense that you can message people, you can even call them if you want, which I rarely do because I don't want to bother somebody around the world calling them. But you can send messages back and forth, so it's got that element in it of WhatsApp with the little videos that you do and you compose to show your side of the world. I love doing a little interesting stuff that is a little bit off the cusp, but people are like, oh, But what I do, and I'm going. I didn't mention this. In September, there's snaphappen.com for those who are interested.
Mm-hmm.
And that is going to be on September 22nd in London. I'm by chance in London for business. I'm going to join in on that just for the fun of it. Mm-hmm. I think it's a great way of getting a get together of people that adore Snapchat. Mm-hmm. I adore it, I have to confess. Right. And Betty, my wife, also at the beginning, she was like, I thought that was our daughter's thing. She's like, well, I kicked our daughter out.
I'm actually really kind of, I'm interested because now this is what's happening, happened with Periscope. This is kind of, and I don't know that Blab ever had one, but I'm trying to think of like a specific platform that had kind of like this kind of a meetup on this kind of a level.
Periscope Blab did a party, but they did not do a specific conference.
They didn't actually have one. And I don't mean to exclude, this is more of just, not knowing on my part. But I'm just kind of looking over the guests, the guest list, those people that are going to be speakers and stuff. And I'm actually really, really excited to hear particularly one, although I know I can't hear, I won't be there personally, but I want to hear it or hear about it, is the one where Chris Coverness is actually going to be speaking.
Yeah. I already sent him a message, and Chris was like, dude, we finally meet up. And I go, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think we're the only expatriates on this side of the continent. I mean, I'm in Italy and he's in Denmark, right? Or Holland.
Yeah, he's over in Denmark. And I think, I love a lot of it. I don't agree with everything he says, but I love hearing everything he says. He's one of those guys. I'll listen to it. And oftentimes I just kind of go, okay, yep. And I'm like, what? Get out of here. No, you're way off. You're there's no way you're right on that. But I love that about Chris. And so I can't wait to hear what you're going to see and hear from him, in September.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun. And if anybody can get a chance ever to come to London, ping us. I'd love to meet up with you in London. I'm going to be there for a week. So
yeah, we've got a couple of watchers from London.
Yeah, we do. We do.
So I wanted to. I know we're kind of right here at the end of the hour, And I'm starting something a little bit new, and I know this is a little bit less interview style. This is a little bit more conversational. I want to hear, because I want to hear what your thoughts are on the mobile and the live streaming and where we see things going. And but one of the things that I wanted to ask, and I'm going to start asking this, of my guests and things, and I wanted to ask, what if you could impart some bit of wisdom, centered around like what we've done or what you're doing, if you could impart some bit of wisdom or advice to the next generation, what would that be?
That's a great question. To the next generation, always be positive, always be helpful, and always be available for anybody who asks or who is interested in knowing a little bit about yourself, what you offer, or where you're located in the world.
That's excellent. Thank you. I appreciate that. Guys, tomorrow we have another show coming up for tomorrow at 10 o'clock Eastern Time. You can watch us, if you're watching this on Facebook, that's great. If you're watching us on YouTube or wherever, or if you join us live on Huzzah, we're going to be doing another show tomorrow at 10 o'clock. We're actually going to be talking about mobile apps you cannot live without. And so it really went so well with what our discussion was today to talk about not just live streaming, but I want to know what are the apps you cannot live without. So that's our discussion for tomorrow. Nazim, I want to say thank you guys so much for being a guest today.
Thanks for the invite.
If they want to connect with you further, Nazim, where should they try to reach out to you?
Well, the main part is kazakiezi.com, which I'll put because some people can't spell it. And that's always been a little issue. But this is the website where we just talk about, we write about our love for Italy. Okay. And you can use Kazakiezi on Facebook, on Twitter. Just search it out and spelled like that, and you can find it all over.
And it's spelled, for those that are watching either on the mobile or whatever that aren't able to see the chat or whatever, it's spelled Casachiesi. And then for the website, it's .com, or if you can find them on Twitter and things like this, and on from there. So, but Nazim, I want to say thank you so much for being a great guest today. I really do always enjoy having conversations with you and just listening to just how you think about things and how you kind of navigate the world. And that's a little bit of a yacht reference. I don't know if you caught that. How you navigate, through a lot of the social media. So, but I really appreciate you.
Thanks for having me.
All right, guys. So join us tomorrow at 10 o'clock a.m. for another live edition of Jonathan Trip Live, and I cannot wait to see you guys there. Take care.